Lime gaming. No, we're going to do some live coding this morning. We noticed that the RVM Cookbook needs a little bit of love. There's a whole host of fixes in the RVM Cookbook by the sous chefs, so I thought we'd take you through it. There's a bunch of bugs, there's some documentation, and it might be an interesting journey. Before I start there, we'll do our little pre-flight checks. So if you're not following us on Twitter, you can follow us, Chef on Twitter here, Progress Chef. We are at Chef on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is Dan_Webb. If you want to follow along on some more of the sous chefs stuff, some of their cookbooks, if you're using community cookbooks, using Chef here for a client, you'll probably have used one of their sous chef cookbooks. The place to find them and talk to them is on our chef community Slack, so chefcommunity.slack.com. That will get you there. If you want to talk about those cookbooks or anything else and need some help and you don't want to do it in real time, then Discourse is the place to do that there. And we may well be using the docs site today, we'll see. I probably won't, because I probably wrote some of those docs that we're going to be using. I actually probably use as reference material. But there we go. And before I start, I'm going to go and plug one of our sister channels, Code It Live. If you like some live coding, CSS challenges, all that kind of stuff, and a fantastic community, head over to Code It Live. My goal today, brilliant. I just picked me to the post. My goal today was to start streaming to people from India. So we're kind of late afternoon in India, and late afternoon in India and late morning in the UK. I was planning to start an hour ago, but I got distracted by emails. So yeah, hello to India. Thank you very much, Vinod. Let me just get started. If you've got any questions along the lines like, what are you doing, Dan, and what does the RVM Cookbook do? Maybe I'll answer that in a second, actually. If you haven't heard of RVM, it's a Ruby version manager, and it's a great way of installing Ruby. The sous chefs have, let me just go quick check. How many cookbooks do we have? So you have the RVM Cookbook, we have Pyam, let me just quick, Ruby. So it's Ruby Build, the Ruby RVM, and a bunch of other ones. But we're going to look at the RVM Cookbook today. Let's scroll down to our libraries and see what's in our libraries. So we've got the provider and the resource for RVM Ruby. And this just does action install, the RVM installer, nothing particularly fancy there. And the resource. So there's nothing weird there. So the first thing we can do is convert the provider resource pair in the library into a normal resource. But before we start doing that, before we start making any changes that could break the cookbook, you need to see if the cookbook is actually testing, which I assume it's not, because I saw yesterday that all the tests were commented out. Right, so a quick look at the kitchen file. This is not, no, that's not. What on earth? This is a bit of a mess. I mean, this is not my cookbook. Wiggle bottom. So let's. If I'm feeling sound a little bit hoarse today, I've got a bit of a sore throat, and what better to do when you've got a sore throat than talk for an hour on live stream? So this one needs fixing. This is all a bit nasty. So what we're going to do first of all is open up my editor of choice, which is VS Code, and reshare. Dun, 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 dun. No. Well, that was ugly. No. Yeah, don't. Let me just. Dun, 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 dun. Try again. There we go. Lovely. So let's just do a git pull on this. Let's make sure we're up 8, which we weren't because I. Oh, that's interesting. What happened there? Let's open the chase log up. Some redundant creative missing stuff. Okay, so, and then there was, let's just check if there's an open PR. Git GH status. Yeah. Try this all from the command line. It might be a silly thing to try and do. Try to do GH again and then GH PR status. This is a list of. There we go. So 413. So let's just. I'm going to open that up. PR open 3. View 413. I'm just using the GitHub command line client. Okay, right. So it's just. So we want to merge one commit into master, and of course. So I'm just going to uncomment those tests in the background. So I would normally share this and reshare this, but it's just me uncommenting. So this is changed basically. So if I just do, I don't want to do a release minor. I don't want to do a release at all. Brilliant. Okay. So this should do a git pull run main. Okay, so our workflows are fixed there. So this is also, it's got CentOS 7. This is also massively out of date. So I'm going to grab the Java Cookbook. I'm going to look at what the integration looks like. There's CI. So we've got branches main. Let's just fix that. Tidier. So if anyone that is not familiar with arrays in YAML, that's an array. So you have main, master, whatever there. The other way of doing arrays within YAML is this way. Simple as that. So I prefer this way. If you've got one item in a list and you're not likely to have another item in a list, it just takes up less space. So in my slightly naive head, it looks a little bit tidier. And here's the other way there. So we're going to go grab the OS matrix from Java, and we're going to just put it in here. So Amazon Linux 2, Debian 9, Debian 10, Debian 11, CentOS 7 and 8, Ubuntu 18 and 20. And they've got some suites. Actually, what I want to do is have a look at our test suites. Yeah, I've got data bags. Why are we using data bags? Oh, this isn't nice at all. So let's just get rid of that. This needs fixing. So recipes default, RVM Ruby 230. So for a start, we're going to install Ruby 3. Right, start with this. We're going to call the test cookbook test. That's our hello, VJ. Let me know if you've got any questions whilst I'm coding at some speed. Yeah. Also, if I'm sounding hoarse, I've got sore throat, so I apologise for that one. It should be over there because you're not blocking the code. So we're just going to rename our cookbook test, our test cookbook test, rather than test fixes cookbooks. Rename folder to test. Default. We do want default recipe. And let's just call, so we're going to call RVM Ruby and we're going to install 3.0.0. Why can you not see the picture? Ooh, that's super interesting. Can you just hear my voice? What are you not seeing, Thomas? Are you not seeing the coding editor at all? And you just seeing me in the middle. Can you now see a bunch of text on the screen? Let me know if you can. So we don't really need any of this. Unreleased. Rename test to test. Okay, so that's what we've done so far. And so this is me preparing for the next tests. That's interesting. You can't see my voice. If you're not, if you're subscribing on LinkedIn, you're having a problem. Looks like Thomas is. I will recommend you to go over to twitch.tv/chef software. That is where we also stream over there, and I can talk back to you. And the LinkedIn stuff doesn't let me talk back to you at the moment via text, so it's a bit of a shame. We got read-only access to that, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, jump over to Twitch. It may well be your phone app that is just not letting you stream the video there. Nice simple test here. It's just RVM Ruby. So cookbooks test. Don't really need an edit config there, so let's get rid of that. And we'll see. Oh, food critic. So let's get rid of this. We don't need this. So if anyone knows what food critic is, we no longer use it. So remove food critic config. Food critic has been replaced by cook style. For win, cook style is so much nicer. You'll see me using cook style in a second, so I'll explain that one. In fact, you know what? Let's just use it now. Cook style, which is just Ruby cop underneath the hood, and we've got no offenses. That's nice. It's just a linter and autocorrector. Sweet. Let's just go over to another window. Ruby install. RVM, right. Let's just go and check the features cookbooks test. Lovely recipes integration. And then I want to know what the CI YAML is. So excuse me whilst I'm in another window. Sweet global. I'm just going to call this. And why is it the sweet server install? So let's just open kitchen. Is there a doc? There's no. We don't have a docking config. Okay, so we've just got at the moment a couple of things to change. We need to add a docking config. This is just like ugly as hell. So platforms, just get rid of all of those things. Java config. We're copying all of this from Java, from the RVM Cookbook. It has not been maintained for a while. So platforms, verifier. Let's just grab those. So that's a bit tidier, aka readable. So Simple 7, 8, Fedora latest, Debian 9, Debian 10, 8, Ubuntu 18, Ubuntu 20, and an OpenSUSE Leap. So we've got stock system and user, which isn't even the test suite. We're not using that. User data bag. So let's get rid of those data bags. So data bags, remove that. Actually, do we use that? Use data bag. RVM system, which is the system recipe. Oh, that's nasty. What on earth? Yeah, if anyone's using the RVM Cookbook, let me know if you are, because this is not the way I like to do things anymore. Again, I mean, look at this. This is not readable code. There's like equals miles away, and there's a pipe. So if there was an RVM user for Rubies, if there is one, use that, and then if it's not, use RVM User Rubies. And like, no, that's not nasty. So, and then install Rubies. Oh, because it's horrible. No. Right, template. Vagrant Chef Client Wrapper ERB. Chef Solo Group RVM Vagrant. So this actually should be a test recipe, not a normal recipe. So, yikes, in the wrong place. So RVM system, RVM user, recipe Java. We're not installing JRuby today. So RVM system, data bag, and then no. So actually, we're not even using the test cookbook. So let's start with that. Name. I'll leave this around. So name, default, default suite. Just some proper indentation. Thank you very much. Run list. It's going to be. I'm just going to check my. Yeah. And then we're going to use the test cookbook default. This is the user cookbook. Is that right? Metadata. So actually, we're going to stop just requiring Chef 15.3. We're going to use a unified mode. Require Chef 15.3 for unified mode. If anyone wants to know what unified mode is, let me know. If not, I'm going to skip over it. Unified mode and Chef 15 support. Okay, so that's fine. Data. A quick look at this. We'll see how far we can get in an hour. This cookbook is nasty and quite broken. There we go. There's some cute photos of kids. So recipe test defaults, we can use the test cookbook, which we don't have access to at the minute. So I'm just going to find my books file. Right, so RVM wrapper, actually, it's a cookbook. Cook test, and then test. No, none of those things. Hey, Mohammed. welcome from another. We've got thankfully our plan worked, and by our plan I mean my despicable plan about trying to get some streams on Indian time. I'm super stoked that you're here. If you have any questions, anyone got questions, stop me in my tracks, and I will hopefully answer them. Group integration cookbooks test. So we're just going to use that simple path into the test cookbook, and then we'll just do all the configuration, and we'll lay the test cookbook out like we would do a normal cookbook. Therefore, we can. It's a bit easier for people to follow along. So, hey, how you use our cookbook is how we use our test cookbook. So, if you pick up any one of the other sous chefs' cookbooks, we have a cookbook called Test, and that cookbook is a fully fledged cookbook. You don't need any of the group integration and any of the other stuff. You just say, right, call a test cookbook and call one of the recipes within it. It will know that it needs apt. It will needs all the things that hang it together. You don't need to do things like, first of all, call the user cookbook and then have a data bag. Then use RVM system and then use RVM user. This is not how we normally write cookbooks. What we normally do with cookbooks is we write a cookbook like this. So let's go to our fixtures cookbook, and we'll have a fixture over here. Let's go to this. Down to recipes, so we'll have a README and a metadata. Fine. I apparently can't type right now. It's a meant to test. To test various configurations of the RVM book. Last README, simple ask of a README there. We'll have a normal name, version, depends, and that kind of stuff. So we'll depend on the cookbook we're testing. And then we'll have a recipes folder here, and then within the recipes folder, we'll have a bunch of recipes. So we're calling test default and then in there. So actually all we're installing here is the RVM Ruby. So I might want to do is vagrant.rb, and we might want to set up some vagrant stuff doing it. So do we have a vagrant file kicking around somewhere? Yeah, there we go. Use a local bin chef client. So chef client wrap at RB. So we don't need to do that anymore. And that seems like a thing that we might want. So let's save that. I'm going to assume we don't need that eventually. That's fine. And remove the vagrant recipe. So remove the vagrant recipe. Remove the test cookbook. This is only for testing. Recipe is only for testing, so it shouldn't be in the normal cookbook. Goodbye, get out of here. So lovely. Then we've got a default recipe. If you have tuned into me ever live streaming anything before, you'll know how much I do not like the default recipe because it's kind of magic. So if you call the test cookbook and you don't include the word default, it will just run the default recipe anyway. I do not like this behavior, so I'm very much a fan of having explicit things and doing sensible things. So sensible defaults are nice. Magic defaults are hard to follow. Install RVM API gem during the chef compile phase. We no longer need to do this if we're using unified mode. So chef gem, RVM, action install, version more than that. Right, so what we need is an install resource. Yeah, so actually, I'm going to change a lot of things before we get going, because the kitchen is not in a state that I'd like it to be in. We're going to use it for reference. It's fine. So let's just get rid of the second. Comment it out. Fact. Just do that. We'll get rid of it. So test default, and then we're going to open. Actually, let's just do kitchen list. If you do kitchen list again, it'll just be KL probably. Brilliant. Now this is for. Oh, do we have a typo somewhere? Probably. What's going on here? No instances to find. What have I done wrong here? Platforms. Turns out, if you have two document starts and it only reads the first document in a YAML file, it doesn't exist. So if you're unfamiliar with YAML, the 3 dashes is a document start marker. So hopefully it'll actually work this time. There we go. We technically had 2 documents in there. What we're going to do is we're going to kitchen test default CentOS 7. So it's the default suite, and we're going to use the CentOS 7 platform. The driver is going to be Vagrant. So we're just going to use my local VirtualBox parallels. In fact, at this point, you're going to use the Chef Infra Provisioner, and we're going to use Inspect to verify. And we're going to get all our tests and our Chef client on the box using the SSH transport mechanism, and nothing will be hit by it. So. Does anyone have any questions whilst we are waiting for the VM to boot? I've got about 20 minutes left of my stream. I'd like to get to a point where it's not in a complete mess. That would be nice. And we've got a plan for the next stream, which may well be, if I'm feeling energetic, may well be tomorrow morning as well. If you're on LinkedIn and you're not, I'd love to know what the experience is on LinkedIn, on the Chef channel on LinkedIn. I prefer to view all of this stuff on Twitch. It's a lot bit more interactive and a bit nicer over there. And I also get to know how many of you lovely people are watching at the same time. So I don't get any viewer numbers, but I'd love to know how many people over in India are watching us at the moment. In fact, in the UK as well. So there we go. It's installed something. Didn't do any tests because there's no tests on the box. So tests in our path. At the moment, so what do we do? We just called the RVM Ruby server remote file. RVM installer, create a file, so the installer, fine. So this is the installer file. When I grabbed it, I suspect this cookbook is a little bit more broken than that. Wow, this is a very long file. And then we didn't even call it. Brilliant. So I'm going to start with oh, what? It's a mini test. Oh. So no, we're going to fix that because we should be fixing that. So we've got some tests eventually. We are going to get rid of the default recipe. Create RVM shell chef wrapper. Create RVM chef user environment. Include the shell helpers. Recipe helpers. So this is very old, this cookbook. There's some stuff that I haven't seen done before. This is pre-Chef 12.5 days, I suspect. That's interesting. So let's do a couple of. So what do we need? We need a couple of folders. So resources, and yes, that's in the wrong place. But I can fix that. Okay. So first of all, we're going to move our library files across, which are actually resources as well. So let's just move this across there. So resources, move them, and provides RVM Ruby. So actually, we don't need to do that. We can get rid of this. So this is actually, what's this? Require LWRP base. We don't need that either. We get that for free. This is the install action. Let's get rid of all the wrapper stuff. You'll see how much nicer in a second. So call it RVM Ruby. So because we're in the RVM Cookbook, the Ruby resource, the RVM Ruby resource, is just called the file called Ruby. I mean, we prefix it with the cookbook name. And the resource provides RVM Ruby, self-resource name is RVM Ruby, default action is install. So there are no options here. There's no like, where do we install it to? Okay, this is quite half-assed, so this is fine. Right. Actually install. So that's all our RVM Ruby does is it grabs a installer and puts it on disk. So source, so install URL. So let me just put this. So property. String. String. Property going to be called. It's going to be called installer URL. I'm going to go and hello from Pakistan, or hello to Pakistan rather. How are you doing this morning? I say this morning. It's going to be like 5 p.m. Yeah, 5ish. Is it 5ish and over in Pakistan at the moment? But yes, good afternoon, Abdul. Let me go and check my solid URL string default. And then this is just to remind myself. So lazy and install a URL. So, install a URL. And so source here is going to be new underscore resource dot installer URL. That's literally the only thing there. Fine. I can't believe literally the only thing this resource does is put a file on disk. It doesn't even do anything with it. So it looks like someone started it and then been like, yeah, I don't want to fix this. So it's fine. So it doesn't do anything. And so the user install, we need a file for user install. So we're going to call it the RVM underscore user underscore install .rv. And then we're going to go grab these. User install, and we're just going to dump this. So action install do end and dump the entire contents of that. The install recipe in our user install block. So yeah, grab the user install recipe, dump it into the user install resource. System install, probably the same thing again. So let's go and grab that. I feel like doing archaeology here. This is some good stuff. So system install, resources, new file. So RVM, that's system underscore installed RB. Let's do action install do and this means we're in a resource here. This is some gnarly coding. I say gnarly coding, literally just doing moving at this point, but this is fine. So we know we need to do a lot of fixing, which is fine. And include suggestions on what we want to how you want to go about this. I'm all ears. I think I'm probably going to RVM gem package RVM string. So I'm just going to stop. Is there no val? Oh, what are we doing? So RVM gem package RVM string. I'm just going to leave it and then do that. And then do action install do and bam, bam, bam. And then just in a block, we can fix this later on. And yes, it does need fixing. It's pretty nasty. Yeah, good morning. It's that one person who was watching us on YouTube for a brief second there. This is RVM system. So include RVM system install, perform install Rubies. Right, so we probably need to go and reread the README because this does not work. We're probably going to make this work like the RVM Cookbook works. There's a couple of things that RVM does differently, but we're going to make it work like that, which is probably going to frustrate a bunch of people, but this is going to work. This works in a really interesting way. Performance for Rubies. Yeah, so just like move that across. User again, user install. It calls user install first of all. So yeah, move that sucker across as well. So we should be left with a default. We don't need our git keep folder file there. That's usually just a file that people put in for a blank folder. We don't need that. Oh yeah, thank you very much for unified node is true. Thank you very much. Oh, get out of there. One. Where is it? That's that. Fine. Brilliant. Just wait for my lenses to catch up. Cookstar. See how much he complains at me. Oh. did it do anything? So unified mode is complete, correct. So some training blank lines, it's fixed. Set unified mode true in all the resources. Yeah, let's just do that. Let's go ahead and do that. So gem package mode, unified mode, user install, unified mode. And let's get to the top one of this one as well. And this is a user resource, so let's do that. And action install do end. All right. So gives us a bunch of stuff to work with. It's very broken. It's more broken than it was half an hour ago, but I'm okay with this. So let's get rid of some of these. Here, change log and move all these two resources. This allows us to use unified mode for installing gems in the correct order. So basically, apologies to anyone using recipes in this. You're going to be a sad bunny at the end of this. If I said bunny, I just mean you're just going to have to delete that. So get rid of libraries, documentation, git keep. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to do RVM underscore system in system install dot markdown. RVM. What are the users? The resources called. Package, so new file to RVM gem package markdown and RVM underscore Ruby. I don't know why I'm rolling my R so much today. I'm just apologising in advance. And to me, because I'm going to apologise, offend anyone. So gem package Ruby system install system and RVM underscore system user install and user RVM user install markdown and then RVM user. Let's see. RVM underscore user markdown. Or we could just type it properly. RVM user markdown there. Fine. Okay. If anyone's interested in what we're doing there, we are just creating some blank files for us to put our documentation in later on, so we can figure out how are we actually going to use those resources. I'm probably going to call it there, actually, unless anyone's got any questions. See where my voice breaks and I have no voice in the day. Let's do this. So test, we need some test resources. So test, we need an inspect profile. So test integration, new folder called default. We're going to get rid of data bags, virtual 1, virtual 2, wiggle bottom. We don't need these users. Get rid of these users. So remove test users data bag. Move test users bag. So testing. Perfect. Here, remove test users data bag. We'll call them directly. That's fine. Integration default stock system user. Remove mini test. Just remove mini test. Just exec with RVM. What on earth? Excuse me. What on earth? What? So we're defining a method called exec with RVM. We run a command as root with the user, the group, current working directory, in the environment. then we run it. So we run this command with these options. Run the command, it gets us back out. So this is this is like before inspec was even a thing. No. Wow. I'm hoping no one's using this cookbook. If you are, let me know. Also, if you're getting anything out of this, let me know as well in the comments. Just give me a thumbs up or whatever. If you want to see more of this, or you want to see more product demos, we'll normally be doing product demos on a Wednesday. I decided that I would go rogue today and not do a product demo because I went scratching an itch at this moment. This is so system install RVM directory. So we're not doing that. That's not. We're going to probably start our tests from scratch, but we're going to use the Ruby build or Ruby RVM cookbook as as inspiration. Because blimey, governor, that's nasty. How long am I going for now? Going for 45 minutes. I will probably head it up to the hour, so we'll finish 5:30 IST. Let me just go and type. Let's go and check. No. Oh, what time is it now? Oh, it's 5:30. Got my timings right. To IST. The other thing we wanted to go and do is go create a kitchen docken file. So kitchen docken is a kitchen driver that uses Docker underneath the hood. It's called Docker because there's basically a bunch of magic, which I will not explain today. But it's cool. It's very cool. So if I just kitchen.docken.yaml, and it's the one from Ruby RVM. So it's got Ubuntu, OpenSUSE Leap, Ubuntu 18, Fedora latest for CentOS 7 and 8, Debian 9, 10. We could do with 11 as well. So let's go and grab 11. Hopefully, if I do Docken list, and I'll let you know what Docken does in a second. Oh, Docker is running. So that's fine. Which is an alias to. So if you set your kitchen local YAML, it will override or it will merge with the settings in your kitchen file. So here I'm just doing kitchen local YAML equals kitchen.docken.yaml and then running the kitchen command. So instead of kitchen, I run docken and I get all the same fancy features. So docken. This hopefully will get all of our platforms when Docker decides to run. Fancy starting. No. Oh, it is starting now. That'll take a minute or two. Oh no, it's minutes to see if it decides that it wants to play ball. Come on. Of course, we haven't started up Docker for more than 30 seconds, and it wants an update. There's a list at the moment. We're running a Docker test. Also, if you can't hear me, let me know as well. That's it, pretty much. Let me know if you can't hear me. We've got our default suites and our Debian 9 stuff there. Right. So that's good. We've got our Docker config. We've got our kitchen config. Oh, kitchen config is there. We've got a default suite. Other things we want to do are system install. System install is probably default. So I want to do a user install. User install and then the run list. recipe. Oops. Recipe is going to be test. User install doesn't exist at the moment. That's fine. System and user. So we're gonna install some data users from data bag. Install system and user at the same time. The user is going to be Wigglebottom, and the user installs default Ruby is 2 and 5. So get rid of that. We want to install JRuby and Ruby Enterprise Edition. We don't care about that today. RBX, is RBX still a thing? Oh, it's Rubinius. No, it's not really a thing. No. So, and this is user install, installer flags, version. No, so we get rid of that as well. So we've down to a user install and a system install. And because I don't really want to have just default there, I'm going to go system install, and then the recipe is also going to be system install. Hey Dan, you haven't created a recipe called system install or user install. Bingo! Let's go do that. All right now. So test fixtures or recipes. Let's go to our recipes. Let me go system install and the recipes new file user install RV. I'm gonna think about this next bit of design. Like, how do I want to use the RVM cookbook? So I start with what does it do right now? Let's open the main README up. Okay, so get rid of that. And oh my gosh, what on earth are we doing here? So description. Let's actually write some proper markdown. Why? Why is this like this? OS X name. Let's go called MacOS. We don't have HTML in our markdown. It's not a thing we do. Let's just apparently we're just going to fix the markdown for a second. Apologies, you're just going to watch me deleting loads of markdown. Recipes default. So it installs the RVM gem and initializes Chef to use the resources in this cookbook for installing and managing. So we're going to keep that. I'm going to grab this. So the default recipe, so people expect the default to do that. In fact, git tag. Well, actually, what version am I now? Hit 10.10. Oh, probably because we did a major at some point. And we accidentally went to version 1, which we probably didn't want to do. Testing. Right, gonna fix that. License and authors again. Just no. Stuff on there. This is going to get updated. So we're going to fix the license and authors first of all to our standard license and authors. So Aaron can stay on that list there. Thank you very much, Aaron, for your hard work. I noticed that there's some people who have. Why is there no? Interesting. Let's open the Java Cookbook. Lessons. So actually, we don't need to put license in there. We've got a license file. Where's the license file? We don't have a license file. Well, I can fix that right now. Nice, easy one. We're going to go and grab the Apache 2 license. Oh, it's there. Lovely. And okay, so we don't need that. We don't need the license file, license and authors. Contributors. So I'm going to grab that. So this section isn't needed at all. Maintainers. So Java Cookbook. Let's start from the top because this is just nasty. RVM Cookbook. Cookbook version. So this is going to be RVM. Chef.io cookbooks. RVM. Actually, I'll read the which cookbook are we on the with the RVM cookbook rather than the RVM. Oh, this is interesting. So I'll put this in the. I can't say. It's the frustrating thing about watching it on LinkedIn. You can't see the comments that I'm about to put on there. But there's a Chef RVM cookbook. So. Oh, this is beautiful. Right, so I'm gonna share this a second because this is going to be the inspiration for our next section of the cookbook. So there's a Chef RVM cookbook on the supermarket I've just found because, of course, there's more than one cookbook for everything. But he's got alias, which I think is a thing that you can do within RVM. Defaults, so it's just RVM. It's just RVM that, yeah. A number of rubies, RVMRC. Lovely. So gems, gem sets, rubies, and wrapper. This is the RVM wrapper, which means that we can I don't know. So we're just digging about that or how that works in RVM. I'm a Ruby RVM person. But there's some cool stuff here. We will probably use this as a really nice amount of inspiration. That's some really cool stuff. Props to that person there. I'm super impressed when I see people do that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for doing that. So let's get a quick look at the RVM cookbook on Market. We are that we don't have a cookbook metrics mark right now. It's like a minus. It's like it's so broken, you're not getting any. Quality. Yeah, so but this isn't happening. I mean, like, what? No. If we review our source for a second, I mean, yeah, it does. This is completely unnecessary these days. We no longer have to put headings like this up there. So what we're going to do, open VS Code again. Cookbook version of Circle CI, we don't care about, sadly, anymore. I care about it, but we're not using it. Sous Chefs. It's a pretty sweet CI/CD service. We just happen to be using GitHub Actions. OpenCollective.com, Sous Chefs, backers. We've got our backers badge, our sponsors badge. This is our license. So if I just open our Markdown preview to the side, we get cookbook invalid. Oh, thanks very much. I'm just going to go and quickly look at that a second. Why is that invalid? RVM. That's weird. V. Shields.io. Well, we're just going to assume it's just broken from it because no one's been updating it in like forever. So our Open Collective stuff, if you want to sponsor sous chefs, Open Collective is a place to do that. They were always massively appreciative of that. So this cookbook installs a Java, JDK, JRE. No, it doesn't. So manages system-wide and per user RVMs and manages installed Rubies. There's several resources. There are no resources in this cookbook. That's a big fat ass lie, so that's okay. We'll tell lies. Occasionally. Just don't do it in readmes. And then, so we've got requirements. We need Chef 3.3 plus. So get rid of that. Platforms. I'm going to go and grab these. I'm not going to make it up as I'm going along. I am literally copying from the Java. Excuse me. I'll be stopping quite soon. Notes. We no longer need the homebrew stuff because it's built into Chef. If you didn't know that, we use. Cookbook. Right, that's fine. That installation. Using Bergshelf. Right, let's get rid of that. Librarian Chef. Well, that doesn't exist anymore, so get rid of that. Recipes default. No. We're going to talk about resources. So we're going to go bam bam resources. And then we've got RVM, RVM system install. And we're going to go to docs, RVM system install. There we go. And then RVM user install. So the documentation hasn't actually helped us how to use this thing properly. System, user install. Let's try user install. Lovely. Docs, is there a user here? Yeah, thanks very much. System install, user install. What's the other thing that person did? Based on the RVM Cookbook. Yeah, it's based on the RVM Cookbook, this other thing, but you've done a much better job. Chef RVM, yeah, no, thanks. So RVM Ruby. So do a system install or a user install of that, and then go RVM underscore Ruby. RVM underscore Ruby. So let's go grab that, and we need that file now. So under docs, we're going to get a new file like that, MD. Oh, do we already have that? We already have that. Oh, beautiful. Okay. And then in our resources, RVM Ruby is there. So thanks very much. And then gem set. Do we have a gem set? So RVM underscore gem set. Package. Gem package or a gem set? I'm pretty sure it's a gem set. We're going to double check that. So here, where are we? Gem package. Gem set. It's interesting. So get gem sets there. So get rid of that. And then our resources need to be called gem set. Lovely. And sets RVM gem. Probably, yeah. So resources, new file, gem.rb. Over here, so that one, resources, and then documentation, RVM underscore gem.rb. Probably mark down as that actually. And then we'll have a look at those in a bit. Where's our readme gone? So there, RVM underscore gem. What we want to do, so doc RVM gem, RVM wrapper. Probably don't want to use that. RVM alias. So alias and wrapper. We're going to use this. So RVM alias. RVM underscore wrapper. So that. Can't do that yet. Need new and resources new. No, RB. New RVM alias. Alias. Documentation. And pretty much. Close all these windows. We need a wrapper. So documentation. Markdown. It's just creating a bunch of files, and we're going to. I say think of it like sketching out what you want to go and do at this point. .rb. All we're trying to do at this point is think about how we want our cookbook to look. We're not going to do a lot of coding right now because it's in such a weird state, this cookbook, that actually take a bit of reference from the Chef RVM by Nikolay Mahura. Is that the last thing he's got? RVM execute. Oh, execute. What's the execute for? Yes. We probably call it script, actually. That's fine. So this is the cookbook we're going to take inspiration from. I'm just going to share your window. So it's this one here. Ruby, RVM as well. Yeah, so I was creating a bunch of new resources here. So LWRPs, this is lightweight resource providers. We now call these resources because they're in the resource. They're resource files, not two files anymore. So resource providers, it was a resource file and a provider file. They've just been effectively smashed together or smushed together to be one. You still have the scoping from both of them, but they're now one file. But what we're going to do is Chef RVM. That does, again, not amazing documentation. Usage, fine. Not exactly great documentation on how to use it. Also, let me know if you've got a cookbook on the supermarket that you need fixing, or you want help fixing one of your cookbooks. We'd love to go and fix one of these one day. So Chef RVM, Rubies, so you install this number of Rubies, and RVM RC there, so whatever. RVM Ruby, so this is just install a single Ruby. So there's Ruby and Rubies. Interesting. Just connect to that. So our README. Oh, as soon as I step away from the microphone, it starts picking me up almost immediately. So let's do blocks. Testing. So the wrapper. So Chef RVM. Let's make some notes. Save. Do.md. Right. So you've got install one Ruby, install multiple Rubies. Fine. I'm not a fan of doing, like, you could just call the resource multiple times. But if that's a supported thing you expect from RVM, then yeah, do it. Then we've got gemset. So what's an RVM gemset? Gemset. Let's just leave that in the background. Delete, update, pristine, just pristine the gems. Chef RVM gem. This is a gem for the RVM system itself, probably. RVM wrapper, again, not helpful. I don't know what this is doing. RVM alias. This is probably going to be. Oh, this is frustrating. Right. So I feel like get a resources, get a. Hang on, where's the. Didn't they have a. Rubies? That's Chef RVM Ruby. Right, okay. I guess it's badly named. So we've got resources and we've got RVM. Right, okay. User Rubies, RVM RC. Okay, so okay. So Chef RVM is a wrapper around Chef RVM Ruby. Correct update RVM RC. Fine. So there's some methods here. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to install one Ruby. It's like we can get people to just like leap through our resource quite easily. We'll handle the nastiness for them. So, RVM Ruby. Pro tip: if you've only got one action or it's your first action, interesting. I'll talk about my face in a second. It just dropped on the floor there. Then so your default action is your first action always. So actually, you can just delete this and get things for free. So user. Also, you've got an array, which is a single item. You can just put a string there. Simple. Array or a string, so version, just multiple versions of. Oh, no. So we're just going to install one at a time here. So, version. Right. Again, not how I would do this. Okay, so I'm probably going to sketch more of this offline. I'm going to take a break now because I've got a meeting in like 15 minutes and I probably need some lunch. But let me know if you found it helpful. If you are kind of following along by the grips of your fingers, or you want to see more product demos and that kind of stuff. If you don't want to do it in the chat here, which might be difficult if you're on LinkedIn, let us know on our community Slack over there, or you can just tweet us over on Twitter as well. That'll catch us at Chef, ping us there, or get me directly at Dan_Webb. I'd love to hear some feedback about the session. If you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. That's actually really helpful feedback. If you didn't follow along and you're actually finding these a little bit stale, and you want me to wear a chicken suit, I can totally wear a chicken suit. You just need to buy a chicken suit. And you're wondering why I'm saying chicken suit, because Code It Live are awesome, and Alyssa is always wearing fancy dress of some sort. And if you want some entertainment whilst coding, they are your people. I would totally recommend them. But for one more day, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us. I will catch you later.